But Michael, we are seeing, of course, the pattern that any politician in power hates, which is a different version of the same story every few days, which is having a look at the frustration people have with your failures. Now, Redbridge, very interestingly, and again, to me, centre-left polling start to say that, you know, they think that there should be action on cost of living this side of Christmas, because if they wait till the other side of Christmas to actually change some of the fundamentals of how the government's working, then it might be too late. Now, I think that, again, when you've got the media on side, when you've got people that are deeply invested in you staying in power, then I think that the task is always easier for the Labor Party to change the subject than it is for the Libs. But what do you think?
Yeah. Well, mate, what's been very clear in the last few months is that Albanese is the easy rider. He's an easy rider Prime Minister. He's good when times are good. He's good when decisions are easy, which is why the Coalition is saying he's a weak leader. He supports an increase in wages for the low paid. He supports increases wages for aged care workers. And we're not objecting to that, but examples of easy decisions. He supports increases in wages for other workers, you know, more benefits from the childcare sector, et cetera, et cetera. Now there's an inquiry into the supermarket pricing. Well, he's in favour of that. IR changes in the Senate. Oh, he's in favour of that. So where he's spending other people's money, he's very, he's very supportive of all those things. But on the other side of the line, and Prime Ministers have to deal with very hard issues, not just the easy ones. On the hard issues, this bloke is not up to the job. Hopeless on the Voice, right? The hardest thing he's had to do is sell the Voice, disaster. And where are we on the Makarrata Commission, truth telling and treaty? No one's got any idea where he's gone to on that. On Gaza, where is he really? For a man that was photographed, happy to be photographed with Jeremy Corbyn, where is he really? What does he really believe about Israel? And on policy decisions, he leaves it to the ministers. So the infrastructure spending cuts, oh, that's Catherine King. The NDIS blowout, oh, that's Bill Shorten. For obvious reasons, it's always Bill Shorten's fault. He's always making, now on this disaster that Claire O'Neill and the Immigration Minister are responsible for, he's nowhere to be seen. It's them. He lets Claire O'Neill overreach. He walks away from her. He won't repeat her words. They're her words, not his. This bloke is great when things are easy. When things are tough, he's nowhere to be seen, which is why, mate, there will be cost of living relief coming very, very soon, because he loves spending other people's money, because they're easy decisions for a government to make. Yeah, again, Stephen, I'll work up to you here, but Tania, again, I mean, you've got plenty of Labor blood, now One Nation, but why is this Prime Minister wobbling, in your view?
Look, I think he never really understood why he wanted to be Prime Minister, for one, OK? My time in the Labor Party, I always found that he was always a bit, it's a good description, Peter Mail. I think he was always like that. And I don't think he really has any vision or any idea of what he wants to do in Australia. He kind of assumed that the Voice would happen. He doesn't really understand economics. You know, he's had 12 interest rates hikes in his time, and he doesn't want to talk about it, doesn't want to address it. And I think, but what he is very good at is politics and manoeuvring. And I think he'll be thinking long and hard now over the holiday period what he needs to do. And you're seeing these attacks now on Dutton, and that's what Albo's about. He's about playing, the man, not the ball. And you're going to see a lot more personal attacks.
Well, and again, I mean, we saw where they went last week. But OK, Stephen, again, I think one-term chat is, I'm not there, right? I'm just not there, and you know how aggressive I am in marking this bloke since even before he became the Prime Minister, right? But let's be honest, the reality of a minority government is that he doesn't have the backbench to burn that Turnbull did, and he doesn't have the backbench to burn that Gillard did, and he doesn't have the backbench to burn that Howard did. He's in a tighter position here. Looking at the amount of runway, are you on the Redbridge side of things, the Michael side of things, sooner rather than later? Or is the reality that when you are the Labor Party, when you are a first-term government, and whatever skills the Prime Minister has, is it as urgent as that, or is this just the turn from awesome to normal?
Well, I think it falls into that last category you just said. It was a very long and happy honeymoon, but the real world has encroached. The Reserve Bank has been moronically aggressive in its increasing interest rates, and that has caused a lot of pain. And I thought you described that very well earlier, the sort of extra money every mortgagee has to provide. So I think that has fundamentally changed the political discourse. I think that the National Secretary gave a very good speech to the National Executive on Friday, which has been well reported. I think there's wise words there, and I think that it's incumbent on the National Executive and the senior leadership of the party to have a good hard look over the Christmas break. I mean, the one thing I'd say is I've spoken to a few of the colleagues in the last few days, and as is always the case, and I remember it well, whether you're in government or opposition, it's thank God it's Christmas. You know, it's the last sitting week. It may go a little bit longer depending on whether or not they're able to pass the legislation to deal with the High Court decision. But I think all of the Cabinet, all of the National Executive and senior leadership in the party should reflect on Paul Ericsson's words. I think they're wise, calm words. I think they're, in terms of the runways you described it, Paul, I think we're probably 18 months, so we're about halfway through the term. Those who may have thought, you know, he's going to rush through an election in the second half of next year probably would certainly have poured cold water on that. So I think the Christmas break will be a good chance for a reset, which will get the government focused. I mean, I think the most important thing that Paul said to the National Executive was, you know, people aren't hearing our message. People, you know, we can think we've got a great message, but people aren't hearing it. So, I mean, I think the fact that the Greens have led the charge to get an inquiry into Coles and Woolies and their price gouging and their, you know, record profits that they've got, and I was a little, you know, I was frankly shocked at your attitude towards the inquiry. I think it's actually deserved, due. But the government have allowed the Greens to take the lead on it. I mean, what Dutton's doing well, and they showed that in Optus, is that they are going hard after corporate misbehaviour. And so the Albanese government looks like it's sort of a bit indifferent. And the sort of companies like Coles and Woolies that are inflicting the pain, and the government is sort of silent on it. So I think they're just off the pace right now. But I'm sure after Christmas through the new year, they'll start to pull it together.